Hello and welcome back to the LJMU MASFF podcast. I'm Peter.
I'm Frank.
And we've got guests again. So can you introduce yourself, please, guys?
Yes, I am Emily White, fiction programmer and public relations team.
I am Isaac Moon, and I was on the fiction strand and social media.
Gabrielle Lucock, I'm on the animation team.
Mars Armstrong, I am on the fiction team and the social media team.
And it's episode 3.
It's really nice to have you here, guys. Today we wanted to talk about programming and how we went about our film selections. Would anyone like to give us an overview of how we went about this task?
So we got given, I think, like 2,700 films or something in between us all, everyone that's on the course. And it basically was just a lot of watching films, liking some of them, maybe not liking some others, and just talking about it, lots of discussions, where we ultimately just whittled it down to, I think, 36.
Well, the first and second batch, it was independent, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We kind of just review films, and then we put through a list of 10 that we liked, and then we did that again for another batch of films, and then we started whittling it down between the chosen ones.
It was 50 films per batch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about
Yeah.
7 hours worth
Yeah.
of film.
Yeah, and then after those sort of individual viewings, then we were put into programming teams so that we could all view the same amount of the same films together, and then from there decide our top 10 as a group.
And hopefully come to a unanimous decision, though
Not always the case.
Maybe
It wasn't
not.
so harmonious.
No, it's that was one thing that was interesting, I think, is to be in a group with varying opinions on different films, and you come to sort of your programming team meetings feeling very passionate about one film or another, and then you talk to other people in the team who do not feel the same level of passion, and
figuring
out a way to have sort of a democracy in terms of film selection.
yeah, you really take a liking to a film, and then you kind of confer with your course mates, and they don't agree, and you go, I didn't realise so-and-so was an idiot.
Yeah, or vice versa, you know?
Yeah.
It can happen both ways. You can have a strong disliking for a film and it have a lot of support.
Yeah,
So
there's a couple of times that I thought, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's other times I thought, is this going to end in a scrap, you know? Who knows? So,
Yeah, there were some tense moments, but we got a good batch.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I think, yeah, it's interesting when you consider this course preparing us kind of for the real world outside of school. Having those conversations I thought was really important, especially if we're wanting to go into an industry that's film festival programming, because at that point there's going to be even more films and more people on a panel trying to program it.
Yeah.
And we did, in the fiction strand, there was one particular film that a group really loved and a group of us really didn't like. And we went with the old-fashioned, raise your hand if you want this film to go forward.
Yeah, a real democracy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true democracy right there.
And it made it through somehow.
And then it...
I won't say if I put my hand up or not.
And then it...
Oh, I was thinking about a different one. I was thinking about the one that didn't make it through.
Oh.
Which
no,
one was that?
we're thinking about the same one, but it made it through that first round. And
Oh,
then when
right.
we brought it forward for a larger group discussion, it did not make it to the final program.
No, it didn't.
Unfortunately.
No. The other thing with it is you have to be extremely harsh with these films. You know,
Yeah.
if a lot of people don't agree with it, or you know, you come to terms with it, you don't want this thing going on for a long time. You know, you've really
Yeah.
got to whittle it down to the best few, because you know there's multiple strands, there's multiple films. Yeah, I don't want to be there all night.
And we
So-
had a time limit, right? It was supposed to be
Yeah.
under an hour and 45
Yep.
max. So
Yep.
that determined how many films were in each strand, because some of them might be 2 minutes, some might be 20 minutes. And so each strand has a different amount of films it's showing,
Yeah.
but equaling the amount of time we were looking
And you've
for.
got to think about, like, pacing with it. You can't sit down for a fiction strand and have 4 or 5 20-minute films. You know, you want to
Yeah.
have a little 10-minute intro, then a little snappy thing,
Yeah.
then something that isn't horribly depressing, maybe something that's, hey, maybe even a bit fun.
Yeah, I mean, dare you say. The other thing is, you know, as you were saying, animation. You know,
Yeah.
some of those were quite short, so there's
Yeah.
there's a few.
There's a
few
lot
going
more
on
animation films, I think, than the other strands
Yeah.
that are included.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even for the video that we did yesterday, we had to really whittle it down to
Oh,
fit it on the
yeah.
cards, because
That
there was a
was
solid 10 on there.
So, you've programmed, you've watched nigh on 3,000 films. What a treat. You've whittled them down, as Isaac likes to say. You've put them in an arrangement. You've gone. I love these. You know, I'm so happy to put these out in a strand and have people watch them. And then you send a little email notification off saying, "All right, Sound, could you send us the film so we can show it?" Silence.
Yeah, the radio silence back really surprised me.
Yeah.
Because I think filmmakers, we think about, if I was to submit something to a film festival, I'd be waiting for them to accept it and hoping they would. And so you would think that you would immediately respond positively to that.
It's also really disappointing on our side, you know, because we've debated and, you know, we get excited about these films and then, as you said, you think they'd be fully on board and ready to send it over ASAP. And it doesn't happen. It is a little bit disappointing. We've had that at one particular film, which we're a bit disappointed about, but
We're all heartbroken about it.
Yeah.
but we move. It's, you know, it's hard.
Because it is true, like you say, like we do put in a lot of work watching all of these films, determining, and maybe if we hadn't chosen that film, another film would have been chosen.
Yeah.
Like, because we
Good
all
point.
had films on our list that were, okay, it's not going to make this, but I still really love it, and maybe it would have been a good alternate.
Yeah.
But now it's too late
late.
to have those alternates, so films may have missed out that could have been on.
It was an interesting thing that Frank just said as well about how watching these films was pleasurable. Now, you would be under the interpretation that watching 7 hours film is very fun, but it is not all the time smooth sailing. It's difficult to get through such a sum of films. I mean, really, it's eye-opening.
Yeah.
You see that double speed playback winking at you. Saying,
Yeah.
Come over here.
You did have to whittle it down. You really did have to power through that.
Say they were 10, 15, 20 minutes. Within the first 3 minutes, I could tell immediately, like,
Yeah.
this is a no.
Yeah.
And it, like, at the very first round, it's like, yeah, I'll watch all of them to the end. But by the time you're getting through, like, the amount of films that we had to watch, and you're really critically watching these because you're trying to determine, is this something that I would, fight for to go through?
Yeah.
Some of them, after a few minutes, it was like, yeah, that's just not going to be the thing.
What were
just-
the signifiers that you were looking at there? What were the things that when you first put the film on, certain aspects that you were looking for?
I think, like Isaac said before, I mean, you can tell right away, like lighting, directing, cinematography, like visually. Am I looking at this visually, and does it look clean visually? Is it something that I would actually suggest to people to watch based on the way it looked?
Sure.
The story was also for me. If the story was already something that was confusing within the first few minutes, it wasn't really interesting to me.
It's awful to say, but sometimes you do get the amateur feel. Like when you're watching it, you're just thinking this is just not the quality that we're after.
Especially when you see some of the films that, like, is it Ab Absurdo? That's the Estonian film. When you see that film and you think the quality of that is unbelievable, and then you do start to look at the other films through that lens of, like, can I put up, this one, but I'm comparing it to that other film. The quality is so different.
That's when you get things like charm coming in, because there are films that are technically they're not as proficient as others, but they've got that personality, they've got that charm. It's it's enjoying to watch, which can get overlooked in some instances.
But I also think that works the other way as well. Like I had, I can't remember what it was called, but I had one film which was like visually really, really, really stunning, like made so well, everything about it, like the sound, everything. But the story just wasn't working, and that really, really let it down. Like, I think that was one of the first ones that I did watch, and I gave it quite a high rating initially, but then obviously watching more and seeing like that has this, but this one has this and this. It really does change.
Another heavy debate that we had, just on a side note, is the funding behind it.
Yeah,
which was
right,
a
yeah.
really, really heavy debate we had in class about the funding behind it and whether it's fair to put it in. So there's so many things that go into it that you just have to, you wouldn't pay no mind, but once you're there, you really have to clock on.
There's a lot that makes a film good, but then if it doesn't have something that, like, it needs to be compatible with our festival and what we're wanting to show things. So, like, I know we were talking about, like, subject matter as well. Like, some of the subject matters were quite heavy to the point where we knew that it wouldn't work in a festival like this, whereas they were well-made films. It just wasn't working with us.
Did you find, when you were looking at any of the films, that the subject matter, when you read the synopsis, it looked like it was promising something really, really good? But then when you actually started watching the film, there was just something missing.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple of documentaries that I knocked back because once I started watching them, it was like, this should be a really engaging topic, but it's just a little bit dull the way it's been executed. That sounds really mean.
And with a
Yeah,
short
but-
film as well,
Yeah.
you cannot be dull.
No,
No.
it's
Yeah,
gotta be
'cause-
punchy.
Yeah, you need to, you've not got long to show, you've not got a long runtime, so everything in it needs to be working and
Yeah.
needs to,
You're really under a magnifying glass.
yeah.
Yeah.
You've
It
gotta
sounds harsh,
showcase
but
everything.
we're not forgiving.
No.
You know.
And this
The-
has to be done to
the
choose
cream
the
of the
best
crop.
films.
Just out of interest, when I was looking at films before we went to Aesthetica, the film festival in York, I feel that was a cut-off point for me personally when I was judging films, because then when I came back from that film festival, I was looking at the films that I'd selected and thinking that wouldn't be anywhere near it, that wouldn't be anywhere near it, that might be, and so it made me a little bit more rigorous in my selection.
It definitely set the bar. I mean, coming back from
Yeah.
that film festival, but the other thing you've got to understand is Aesthetica is a pretty prestigious film festival. You know, in the UK, it's pretty good. It's pretty big. It's and we're a small fish, but
yeah,
we're
but we've
getting
still
by,
got to
but-
aim for
Yeah,
that
100%, mate.
Yeah.
You're dead on. When we came back, I think reviewing the films, I've been to Aesthetica like 3 times, and yeah, when you come back and you start reviewing some of those films, you are like, woof,
Yeah.
the bar is set. So but that's what needs to happen.
The thing about this festival, because we are putting it on and it's it's a student module, you get as much out of it as you put into it, and so that's it's something we want to really put our whole into.
The other thing I was thinking as well is that, we're showing this to people. I want people to watch it and enjoy it and have fun. This is not just for me. This is a whole experience for people who watch film, people who don't watch film. So it has to have that quality.
But it's also like our names are on it,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
our names, our class's name is on it. Like I want to show something that I'm proud to show as a member of the program, right? That is a reflection of us in the program, the people who are coming to watch it. It's like, okay, so they chose the films. Let's see what kind of taste they have.
Yeah.
Like
It's a
that.
fabulous
which is
opportunity as well.
intimidating.
Yeah, exactly.
There's not many people go to see a Peter Sutcliffe Presents. as well.
No, and not the type of people you'd want to come.
No.
You might get some funny people showing up when they hear that Peter Sutcliffe has programmed a film festival. Ooh.
That should be our leading tag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd really get some cool people at the festival.
I don't know if cool. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for episode 3. Thanks so much for listening. Tune in next time when we're going to be talking all about social media.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.